Hi everyone, welcome back to the Ranger shop. So in this episode we're going to cover shocks for our trucks. These are Rancho shocks obviously that I just ordered, but they're a little bit longer than the standard ones because if you've been following my build, I've put the keys in the front, so that's lifted it a bit, and then I've got an add-a-leaf in the back and some shackle lifts. So these shocks are a little bit longer. You'll notice here they're a little bit longer than the factory ones, and so that'll allow, hopefully it'll allow the front tires to drop further, because right now what's limiting the drop of the front suspension is the shock. So anyways, why don't you follow along. I'm going to do a before measurement, how far the tire will drop, and then when we install the shocks, how far do they drop now. Do I have more travel? That's what I'm going for. Okay, so let's get installing these. So I'm just starting on the rear shocks here. So here's the Ranchos. You can see they're actually the same length as the factory Ford ones. I believe these are the same shocks that are in like F-150s and everything, but I'm not too sure. Anyways, these were ordered specifically for the Ranger. They come with a wire on here, and it's easier to install it and then take the wire off, and then as it's extending you just slide it in. But I just wanted to show you the comparison here of the length, and also the boot is very difficult to get. Like, they make it so that the wire can be pulled through the boot, but it's just difficult to try and get it all on there. So anyways, in this case, so now I'm gonna put lots of anti-seize in here. Same idea as our leaf springs. Lots of anti-seize in there. Slide it on the mount and then tighten it up. Okay, there we go. So that's the rear shocks they're on. I think they look pretty good. Now let's jump to the front shocks. Okay, so here we're looking at the front setup for my suspension. And first of all, you can see that I don't have my torsion springs cranked up that much. You can see the space in between the lower control arm here and the bumper is very tight. So I'm gonna crank it up a little bit just to match the back lift that I've added. Also, what I'm hoping to do here is I want to do a drop test. So I'm going to jack it up and we're going to measure the space between this bumper and that lower control arm with the factory shocks. And I'm really hoping that these new shocks will give me a little bit more drop. So it'll help drop it down a little bit. That's what I'm hoping is going to improve here. But let's jack it up, pull these tires off. We'll do the measurements first, then we'll jack it up, pull the tires off, and get some measurements with those new shocks on there, see if we can improve that drop a little bit. Okay, so we got the tire jacked up, it's off the ground. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure the distance between where this bump stop is, right below here on the control arm, to right up to the top of the shock tower right there. So what I'll do, that's where I measured it. I'll measure the exact same spot after I get the new shock. So we're going to see if this measurement will drop any with just a shock change. That's all I'm doing is a shock change. I'm really hoping it's going to, but let's check it out. Okay, so I'm going to rip these tires off and then we're going to throw the new shocks in there, and then we'll get back and do a measurement. So actually, let's do the first measurement here. (22 3/4). So see that there? Maybe even a little less, more like 22 5/8. But that's right in line with that bump stop, and it's right up on top of that shock, the tower, the top bracket. So now let's throw the new shocks on there and check it again. Here's a side by side of our shocks. So you can see roughly, maybe a little further down, about there. It's the center. You can see how much taller they are. It's got about an inch, there's my finger, about an inch higher where the mount is. So it's not for a lift, it's not like a 5-inch lift shock or anything, but it is just for basically this sway bar crank. Here's the part number for those front shocks. And yeah, so we're just going to throw them in now, and then we'll see the drop. We'll do a measurement on it. So the installation of these shocks is pretty straightforward. Just 2 bolts at the bottom here, and then at the top there is this metal ring that goes on first, little cup that holds the bushing. The bushing, you can see the this grooved part here, that goes up into the upper bracket, and then the smooth part goes into this cup. And then the other bushing, once you slide this into that upper shock tower bracket, this upper bushing just drops on top, and then you've got another cup that goes on top of that, and then a nut that tightens it up. So you just take the shock and you just slide it up in between the upper control arm. Goes right up in between there, and then right into that top shock bracket. It's all installed, so you can see the bolt up top all done up, and then the 2 bolts down below here go through the lower control arm. So now I'm just going to throw in a new sway bar bushing in here while we're at it, and then let's do some measurements. I know for sure already there's going to be more drop because I can see the control arm. Before it was up quite a ways, now it's much further down. So let's do a measurement and see what we're at. Okay, here we go. So I think you can see that pretty good. So out to where the stop is, up top and at the stop. So we are almost 24 inches, maybe 23 3/4, 24, somewhere around there. So that's giving another inch of drop here, and probably out by the time you hit the tire you're looking at least 2 inches drop. So I don't know, probably not worth it to go out and buy these shocks just if you've already got good shocks. But if you've got a front torsion key lift, or if you've cranked your keys and you need shocks anyways, I would highly recommend these shocks. And there's room, like the shock itself is not hitting anywhere in here. There's no contact, so I think it's a good system. Here's all you really see of the shock. Not too much there with the tire on. But from underneath, there she is. So we're all done now. I'm gonna wrap this one up. Hope you enjoyed it. Give me a thumbs up. Subscribe for a lot more Ranger stuff to come. And comment below. Let me know what you think. Is it a good idea? Should we replace our shocks? Get the longer shocks? Anyways, let me know what you think. Thanks for watching. Take care.